Welcome to Prepare For Takeoff. I'm the creator and host, Terry L. Cyrus. We're the podcast dedicated to amplifying Black excellence. Every week, we sit down with a proven professional or a rising entrepreneur. This week, we're sitting down with co-founder and CEO of Pure Genesis, Faye Coleman. Faye, what's going on?
It's so great to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Terry.
We wouldn't have it no other way. We both have West Virginia roots. You went to West Virginia University. I went to West Virginia State. We're also proud members of the D9, so I'm glad that we both can represent on the platform.
Absolutely.
So I know you're originally from Pittsburgh and you grew up in the Hill District, so talk me through what that was like.
Oh my gosh, I had a great time growing up in the Hill District of Pittsburgh near downtown. I was raised by a single parent, and my mother instilled in me a really great foundation. And from that foundation came my superpowers, which everybody has, by the way. For me, as a Black woman, my superpowers were, of course, that I'm Black and a woman. I'm smart, born into the working class. I was raised by a single parent, educated with 2 degrees, got 2 wonderful children, both have their own degrees, both working. Married of 20 years, successful in corporate America. And some of my best friends, I would say many would be envious of. But all that, I think my foundation truly is my faith. And now that we are 5 companies in with our business, striving forward, and I would say with the majority facing headwinds, yes, I said headwinds, I wouldn't be anywhere else. Now I'm excited because as a Black woman, many of your listeners will have the same superpowers that I have, right? No different. So I'm excited to be who I am and to be where I'm from.
You're right. We have that superpower inside us. A lot of times we don't listen because we listen to that fear and doubt instead. You put that cape on and you wear it proudly. I'm certain that there's a lot of women, whether they're in their particular field of discipline for the last 10 or 20 years, or maybe they're transitioning into the workforce fresh out of college. I'm sure that they can all relate to your story because many people think that success is just a straight line to the finish line. And I know that your journey isn't that, nor is mine. Not only do I want you to talk us through what it was like as far as you transitioning from the Hill District to Morgantown to attend West Virginia University, but also what were some of the pivots you found yourself making once you obtained your degree at West Virginia University?
Well, I think you talked about transitioning and just looking at transitioning from corporate America to the cannabis business, let's say. I would say there are many transferable skills, of course, going from corporate America to entrepreneurship, but you also have to learn the job, of course. One thing I had to figure out was how to sell myself. In terms of raising funds, you always got to be selling, right? But in terms of raising funds, that's a whole different vernacular. Something I hadn't done before. You're the face of the company, right? You're the brand. And the number one thing a CEO has to do is what? Raise money. I always say either learn how to raise money or find a broker who could raise it for you. Have your business plan ready. Understand your funding needs. Make sure your financials are solid. Know your startup costs, your working capital needs, all those things, payroll requirements. And critically, have a budget for when you miss projections. And I think people don't plan for the miss, they plan for the make. And sometimes when they miss, they're out of business, just like that. By the end of this month, we will have raised several $1 million. That didn't come easy. We have a significant number of investors and we manage like a public company. We have 2 investor calls a year. It is business. So transitioning from corporate to cannabis is one thing, but business is still business.
I'm certain that when you entered into the workforce, I'm certain that what you took from those classrooms in Morgantown, it prepared you for that opportunity. And then you was able to expand on that when you were able to pivot from corporate to cannabis. So you went the traditional corporate route. And what did that consist of? And was that a straight line fresh out of college, or did you find your way back to Pittsburgh, or did you go right into it?
Well, I have worked across several industries, but my first job was in Harrisburg, straight out of school, as an engineer. However, I spent a good part of my career in the food industry, Kraft General Foods, Campbell Soup, Sorrento Cheese, Hatfield Quality Meats, but Campbell's is what brought me to New Jersey. I then switched careers, went into retail, into operations with the Home Depot, Target, and CVS. At CVS, I had responsibility for 22 direct reports. Who has that? That was interesting. At Target, I had responsibility to support more than 60 locations and more than 10,000 associates across 3 states, that being Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And within the first 18 months, I was able to support the market with getting operations into the Black for the first time.
Man, that's a lot of responsibilities, Faye.
A little bit.
And I know you're being modest, but I mean, you're like, hey, it was a little something, but that had to be a lot. But I mean, with that, they knew, well, who better to show up and be the one for the job than the person with the cape on their back. So I'm certain that you've had that cape on for a long time, even when you were in Harrisburg, fresh out of college. So like, what was it about you? Like, where did you get that from? A lot of times when people say, oh, well, I grew up in certain neighborhoods, I was in a single parent household, whatever the case may be. Some people, they use those things like a crutch, if you will. But for you, you've seen that as a superpower. You've seen it as something that, hey, this is a force multiplier. It allowed me to deal with things in real time as far as adversity is and the ability to pivot. So was that something that was just innate in you at an early age?
Well, sometimes I think it's innate within certain people, but I also think it's how you're nurtured, right? And I think it's the mentors that you come across. Mm-hmm. I think all those things are relevant. I think it's environment. I always tell people the environment that you're in will definitely give you some insight into your level of success. I always say there's 3 types of mindsets, Terry. There's a surviving mindset, a thriving mindset, and a building and winning mindset. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you better be in the building and winning mindset category if you really want to pursue your goals. I'd always thought about being an entrepreneur, really. And it took me a few decades to pull the trigger. I would tell anybody today, pull that trigger as soon as possible. My question to everyone, though, all of your listeners out there is, in my family, I was going to be the first to do so. As a Black woman, many of us are the first at many things that we do. And certainly as we go into business or entrepreneur, we're overqualified for certain rules, yet we're always undervalued, right? And I said, yet always undervalued. Mm-hmm. I look at examples like Philadelphia's first female mayor, first Black female mayor at that, Cheryl Parker, Vice President Kamala Harris, Whoopi Goldberg, first Black EGOT winner, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, all women doing it on their own terms. Those are the examples that we have in front of us. And now we can even look back. If you look back, there's some brave women in our history that were risk takers. You got Claire Brown in 1850. She established a laundry business during the gold rush and used her money to build a community for Black people so that they could be safe and live in a safe environment. You've got Maggie Lena Walker, was the first Black woman to charter a bank and help people protect their money. And then you got Annie Malone, who paved the way for Black female cosmetologists and gave jobs to more than 75,000 women worldwide. And as a matter of fact, she actually taught Madam C.J. Walker her craft. And interestingly enough, she was the first Black female millionaire, actually multimillionaire, before Madam C.J. Walker. But we don't hear those stories. The list of first goes on. The point is, Black women entrepreneurs have value, yet we are still undervalued, especially as it comes to investment. That is the stain on the cannabis industry or most industries. That intentional investment is not happening in Black women-owned or Black-owned businesses, period. It's interesting to understand as well that today, women create more than 1,800 new jobs every day, new businesses, every day. 80% women of color. Black women-owned businesses represent the highest growth rate of any group, yet we only get 2% of the capital that's out there, Terry. Today, there are more than 14 million women-owned businesses, 2.7 trillion in revenue. And just a note, Terry, this is just data. I don't make it up. This is data. Women-owned businesses earn 10% more than men. So again, we have value. So why not me?
The way women are built, you guys are resilient by nature. You are the caretakers of the earth. You birth life. And you use that same superpower to birth life into these businesses at the rate in which you've described. And I'm certain that being around not just your mother inspires you, but I'm sure also those ladies in Morgantown, proud members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, they gave you a sense of belonging and knew that it wasn't about you. That's something that I learned when I pledged Jamaica South Phi Fraternity Incorporated back in 1991. It's not about me. It's about the collective. So if they see me, they're going to say, oh, the Qs did this, the AKAs did that. So you represent something beyond just who you are as an individual. So I'm certain when you left campus, you knew that not only were you representing the people in the Hill District, not only were you representing your family, but you were also representing the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So what did that do to help also shape the superwoman that we see today?
Well, I think you make the excellent point. As an entrepreneur, you have to network. And you need to join organizations that are industry specific, business specific, and culture specific. And certainly my sorors of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated definitely aided in my leadership development, my service development, my ability to mentor others, really understanding what elevating and, as they say, rising tide lifts all boats. Certainly, we're all in it together, but we actually collectively look at how we can edify and uplift one another. That sisterhood is real and is true, and it translates into business. As I look at folks, and I always have my mentor hat on, I always have a question around, do you have your elevator pitch ready? And some folks think, elevator pitch, are we really still doing that? Anybody could walk up to you any day and say, hey, tell me a little bit about your business. The minute you say, you've already lost $1 million. So I tell people, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, because nobody's going to wait for you. I heard on Shark Tank them say the dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. Hustle is expensive, and you have to understand what it takes.
I agree. And networking, as people have said many a times, your network is directly tied to your net worth.
Absolutely.
And many of the ladies that you mentioned, whether you're talking Kamala Harris or whether you're talking the current mayor of Philadelphia, they all happen to be members of the D9. And I don't think that's coincidental. And I can go on and on and on, whether you're talking the Supreme Court Justice or you can talk about a list of entrepreneurs, both in my organization as well as yours. That's not coincidental, because that's something that you learn at an early age, that you have no excuses. Because think about what these men and women did in the early 1900s. They put together a sorority for you, fraternity for me. And this was back in the early 1900s. They weren't but so far removed from slavery. I'm certain that many of their family members were born into slavery. And despite that, they went on to have great success. So if they didn't have any excuses, how can we make excuses in 2026? It's not something that we should do, need to do, or it's no longer acceptable to do.
No, it absolutely is not acceptable to do. And I think there is absolutely a network out there. And I tell people all the time, if it's not in an organization for you, it's always in your church home that's open, doors always open for you. But you look at people that look like you. And of course, you always want to make certain that you're the person that wants to give just as though you want that person to give to you. And I think, especially in today's times, it really is on us, right? I think it's been made very clear that there are no lifelines being given today. And the lifeline is that we've got to give one to each other. And when we do that, I think that we'll see how we'll be stronger as a community, we'll be stronger as leaders, and we'll be a stronger force as we move forward, so that we can lift each other up, whether it be in the business world, the community world, or in the faith-based world.
I agree, Faye, because I think when you were talking about the days of segregation and where we were limited to where we could live, where we could go and get our educations, whether that was on the high school level or even the higher ed level, it forced us to work together. So there was a time in which we could only attend HBCUs. I'm a proud graduate of an HBCU, and there's a lot of greatness that came out of those HBCUs. Some of these neighborhoods, whether you're talking the Hill District, whether you're talking Harlem, whether you're talking any place in the area where there was an enclave of people who looked like us, that early on, we succeeded in those circumstances and environments. And I will say, sad but unfortunately true, what it didn't happen, some of the greatest people that occupied those neighborhoods, they left those neighborhoods and the resources went with them. So now what we're doing, and I'm proud to say our generation, we're pouring back into those neighborhoods. We're pouring back into those HBCUs. And we're giving people from those neighborhoods that lifeline, if you will, because like you said, no one's going to come save us. So the only people that can save us is us. And we're leading that charge. So I'm happy to say that we are doing that. And our ancestors, our forefathers, they've done it in times past. Whether you're talking in the civil rights era, the list goes on and on. I think in this day and age, when you're talking about AI, one of the things that AI seems to be doing is pushing people more in the direction of entrepreneurship, because a lot of the jobs that we were able to go out and find, whether it was in telemarketing or whether it was in any kind of support role. Those are the first jobs that I think AI is beginning to occupy. If you having any kind of tech problems, and we've all been there, and you're trying to get a human on the phone, good luck with that. It's going to be chat support. And the chat is going to be pretty effective. And it's a lot cost efficient for the organization than to hire humans, because initially they were farming it out to third world countries. And then they went from doing that to saying, we'll farm it out to this computer who can answer any question that you may have. So I think as a result of which, people are going to be getting to have to think more so outside of the box of, what do I find myself doing? Yeah, I have this degree, but then how can I put this degree to work for me? And I think being an entrepreneur, finding out what it is you're passionate about, and I want to get into that as far as how you landed in the cannabis industry. I always say, find something you're passionate about, because business isn't going to happen as you may anticipate. If you're going after the bag and you think that, hey, I'm doing this because there's a lot of money to be made, then when that money doesn't come, then what? You're going to be ready to pack up and go home. But if it's something that you can relate to, whether it's cannabis, whether it's entertainment, whether it's law, if there's some kind of kinship that you have to that industry and you realize that it's something that you can see you having a purpose in doing, and that's what's driving you more so than what you stand to gain financially, you'll be more likely to stay the course. So with all that being said, how did you land in the cannabis business?
Well, I appreciate that. Interesting. We've got to take a little step back. And my mother had breast cancer when I was a kid. I watched her lose 70 pounds on a 5-foot frame. Terry, I saw her skin turn coal black. I saw her mental acuity greatly diminished. Had she been able to consume cannabis during her chemo and radiation, she would have maintained her appetite and had a healthier recovery, right? She survived that, but the last 17 weeks of her life, she spent in surgical ICU. And the week after she passed, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And the first thing that came to my mind was cannabis. Out of nowhere. I waited some more time after that because I still didn't pull the trigger in terms of my interest in the industry. But I eventually flew out to a conference in Denver, Colorado to see if this was an industry that I could thrive in, or if I was going to see a bunch of potheads and I needed to get myself back to New Jersey and get back to work. But I was super excited about who I saw. I saw people that looked like me, aligned with my way of thinking. Came back, grabbed my good friend of mine, and we got started. Now today, Pure Genesis is our company. It's our umbrella company. We have 5 business entities, our cannabis arm with a license in New Jersey. We've got 2 joint venture licenses, one in New York and one in Florida. Plus, we're pursuing a license in Delaware, Maryland, as well as Pennsylvania. We have PG Hemp, where we've grown hemp now in 3 states, that being Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and South Carolina. We have a small farm in Senegal. We're also working on an industrial hemp international project in Africa. We're developing an AI app through our PG Insights entity. We do education and business consulting through our trademark workshop called Now You Know, where we educate at-risk youth ages 13 to 22 on the history, the plant, the medicinal aspects, and the business of cannabis. We are also educating on how to prevent drug misuse and incarceration, of course. And we have PG Fire, our food and beverage arm, where we launched Genesis, our new beverage in partnership with Whoopi Goldberg. We call it, our tagline is the future of happy hour. Whoopi has her own flavor called Whoop Tea. And shamelessly, it's available at genesisinfused.com. But that's how I got started. And that's what led us to where we are today.
That's phenomenal. You mentioned education. A lot of people don't know the difference between hemp and cannabis. So do you care to elaborate on the differences between the two?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you just talking about education, because our mission is education, access, and advocacy. So as you talk about hemp and cannabis, I get this question all the time. Terry, it's all cannabis, okay? It's all from the cannabis plant. And so I'll give you this example. I give it to everyone. But think of it like the citrus family, right? You've got lemons, you got oranges, you got grapefruits, right? They're all citrus, but they're different fruits, right? Industrial hemp is mainly male plants harvested for seeds and stalk. Seeds can be used for animal feed and human protein, stalks for building materials and textiles, the roots for biofuel. Did you notice I've talked about the whole plant?
Right.
Right? Industrial hemp truly is that $1 trillion crop, and it's carbon negative. Come on now. It sequesters carbon, right? Versus emitting it into the air like everything else does. Then there's hemp that's grown for CBD, where the flower has high concentrations of CBD that can relieve anxiety, pain, and inflammation. And then there's marijuana, which is grown for high THC content in the flower, right? So you got these three types of flower. All three come from the same plant family, but are different strains grown for different purposes. It's interesting that 50% of all prescriptions back in the late 1800s and early 1900s used to be cannabis. And before the American Revolution, every household was required to grow 100 hemp plants that we had to send back to England for sails, ropes, and textiles. We're just at the beginning of understanding the true benefits of this plant. But that's the difference.
That's crazy. Nobody taught us that in school. So, like, what do you think the correlation between what we did back then and then all of a sudden it becomes big pharma and it's all about all the other things that can cure these diseases or help us with these ailments? Do you think it has anything to do with the amount of money that big pharma can make by comparison to what can be grown in your backyard?
Oh, it's all about the money that can be made from this plant. This plant, just for a bit of science, every plant has one terpene, right? One terpene. So lemon has limonene, right? You smell it, right? It gives it a smell. It gives it its intention in terms of that particular plant. And so the cannabis plant has a few hundred terpenes. So when you're talking about all terpenes that are directing the smell and the effect of the plant, and it has over 200, I think right now it's over 300 or 400 that's been researched. Now you're talking about the value of something truly remarkable in aiding us medicinally in terms of our health. In addition to the over 50,000 uses as an industrial hemp plant. So we are just scratching the surface in terms of the opportunity. The challenging part is that we've only found that 19% of cannabis business owners are from minority populations. And for the most part, say California has about 40% of those minorities, right? The rest of the United States, only about 2% of all businesses are co-owned or owned by Black Americans. 2%, Terry. Despite Black Americans, of course, being most active cannabis consumers. Hispanic and Latinos coupled with Black Americans, 10%. Still very low. As of 2017, 81% of cannabis executives are white and 73% men. Basically, it's nothing new, right? That's corporate America today. The same stats apply, right? But what makes this disparity in this industry even more significant is that communities of color have been disproportionately harmed by cannabis criminalization, right? Despite similar rates of cannabis use across racial groups, and there is, African Americans are still 4 times more likely to be arrested than whites. And that's a national statistic that is still going on. Other key barriers, of course, are what? Capital, banking discrimination, and of course, cannabis convictions. The lack of access to capital is the number one reason that we have such low participation. Look at the Black business community. Again, 2% in the space, 1% of capital goes to Black females. It's taken us a while to get what we need to move forward. Fortunately, we still have our business, us as PG, we've got our property, and we have no debt in our business. We're very fortunate. We own our land and are opening up a dispensary toward the end of this year, beginning of next year, right across the street from the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. We're super excited about it. An 8,000 square foot dispensary and consumption lounge, 4,000 square feet on the second floor of consumption lounge, indoor, outdoor, nothing else like it in the state. We're super excited, but we are still in pursuit as well of our own capital. So the opportunity still exists for us, but we have to keep striving and moving ourselves forward.
That's a lot to unpack. And I'm certain our viewers and listeners are like, man, who knew all of that? And when you think of medicine, who knew that early on it was such a dependency on hemp? And then I guess what I was alluding to is Big Pharma came in and said, oh no, we're going to change the dependency to all these other things that we can mass produce in a lab and make it where there's more of a dependency on Big Pharma than it would be on these crops that you may be able to grow in your backyard, and take us back to those days of agriculture where a lot of those industries were dominated by people of color because we were the original workforce in this country. We built this country with our hands. And That's something that we learn how to do really well as far as whether you're talking picking cotton or
We'll stay right
tobacco,
there.
things of that nature.
We'll stay right there because when we were picking cotton, we were also growing and harvesting hemp. Hemp was so hard to harvest back then, they used to call it the nigger crop. Because only Black folks would grow and harvest it, the enslaved, because white folks said it was too challenging. But yet again, that was considered a $1 billion crop back then. And so as you look and move forward and look at the future of this industry, the equalizer of it is that there is so much you can tap into. As I said, with industrial hemp, 50,000 uses, Terry. The project we're looking to do in Africa, we're looking to couple Black farmers in the US with Black farmers in Africa and have a transatlantic trade of hemp, because we're looking to train those farmers on how to grow industrial hemp and export it and create some export partners and have those relationships built in. And then we're looking at having that processing piece and then developing of products. So when you think about industrial hemp, think food for hemp hearts that can serve as high protein food for various communities that have challenged with food sources. Then you think of animal feed. One thing we can't sustain in this country is animal feed, right? 70% of all the products that are grown in the United States are for animal feed. Most people don't realize that. That's why most of our fruits and vegetables come from outside the country, because we're so busy growing for the animals right here. And then you've got housing crisis. Of course, there's a housing crisis in Africa. There's a housing crisis here. Think of industrial hemp homes, 3D printed industrial hemp homes. That's something that's in development as we speak. And then you're looking at products that are being developed for automobiles. For instance, BMW uses industrial hemp for the side panels of their vehicles. 50,000 uses. Now, you can't tell me we can't be a part of that supply chain, whether it's growing the hemp, processing the hemp, developing into a finished product. There is huge opportunity here for everyone, from the pharmaceutical industry to the Black farmer.
I'm glad he was able to make that connection, because there's a lot that, as far as the opportunity that exists, there's a lot of opportunity, but it's not something where it has to be consumed by just big pharma. It can also be consumed by people who look like us. How are you guys able to successfully raise capital for your business, realizing that's one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of us can't seemingly get across?
I think one of the first questions I always tell people is that you have to look at, as a future industry leader, if you're coming into this industry, you have to understand what you're getting into. And do they have a genuine passion for it, right? Too many people in thinking, I'm going to get rich quick. I always ask people, do you have the 5 whys understood in terms of your business? Why this business, first of all? Does it make sense? Have you done your homework? Why this state? Is it cannabis friendly? Are the regulations friendly? Why this municipality? Does the location make sense? Sometimes there could be some redlining going on. You're not even aware of it. Why this team? Have you chosen the right people to help you succeed? The leaders that have the right skill set, the experience, are they really providing you what you need to be successful? And then why you? Why do you think you can be successful in this business? If you can't answer that last question, you need to reassess. You also, you need a strong constitution, Terry. You're going to hear a lot of no's. I've been told we have no value. We don't bring anything to the table. You got to understand your currency, how to show it, and just as important, how to get it. I tell people all the time, capitalism is a gladiator sport. Do you know how to play it? I mean, for real, it is serious business. So you got to make certain you have clarity around certain questions. And we began with going after investors through friends and family. Have some of my sorors that are key investors in our business, fraternities that are key investors in the business. And we're forever grateful for that, because they see the value, they see what this is. And quite frankly, there's not a lot of opportunity for us to have equity in various businesses. And we wanted to open up an opportunity for our people to have equity in a business and equity in this industry. And that's not easy to come by. So that was something that was a win-win for both sides.
Thinking about starting your own business? Make it real with Shopify, the all-in-one platform trusted by millions to sell online and in person, whether it's merch, art, or digital goods. Shopify gives you the tools to build, grow, and succeed. And here's the best part. When you sign up using the affiliate link in our show notes, you're supporting Prepare For Takeoff and starting your business off right. Click the link and start your free trial today. Whether you're talking Uber, whether you're talking Airbnb, they're not necessarily coming to the neighborhood and saying, hey, do you guys want to invest? You have to be in those rooms, and those rooms aren't necessarily in some of the neighborhoods in which we reside. But there are people in the neighborhoods where we do reside, where there are opportunities, and we have to be able to see the value in each other. I mean, one of the things that and it kind of boggles my mind, Faye, we're one of the few communities where if we see too many people who look like us, we get a little concerned. So imagine if you go to a neighborhood, it's like, wait a minute, I see nothing but black people, and you automatically assume that something's wrong. But people from other communities, whether they're Jewish, whether they're Russian, whether they're Italian, they see the safe haven in that. We have to begin to see the safe haven and the opportunities that we have that we can bring forth, and trust the people like you who've done their research, who've done their homework, and saying, hey, this is an opportunity for you to get into this industry that you may not otherwise be able to participate in. Because trust me, there's plenty of things that's going to keep you out of it if you try to go at it by yourself. And it speaks to the African proverb, and I say it seemingly every episode. If you want to get somewhere far, you have to go with others. If you want to get somewhere fast, go alone. So if you're trying to make a quick buck, you might be able to find a way to get some quick money on your own, no matter the industry. But if you want to go somewhere far in that industry, you have to go with others. You have to find a team of capable professionals that can lead the charge in what it is you see yourself doing. I am just in all of the things that you've educated me, just not only in this conversation, but in conversations independent of this one, on in the cannabis industry, all of the things that you guys have managed to accomplish. And again, I know, Faye, you're being very modest with the amount of money that you guys have raised. I don't know if you want to spill that tea, but you've raised a significant amount of money thus far. And to put yourself in a position to set up shop right outside of the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, that's a feat in and of itself. But one of the things that I'm sure our viewers and listeners are dying to want to know, how did you connect with Whoopi Goldberg?
Well, that's a good question. The connection was mutual. She wanted to get back into brick and mortar cannabis, and specifically in New Jersey, preferably Atlantic City, because she loves Atlantic City. She's performed there all the time. We were a group of Black women, and she was looking to work with some women of color, and we fit the bill. Somebody introduced us. We went to her home, shared our strategy, and she said, I'm in. And as we were developing, it's interesting because she came in as a part of our dispensary operations. As we have a consumption lounge, we're going to look to think consumption lounge, think comedy club, DJ, band during the day, having CBD facials, doing yoga, all the things. And so her team was going to come in and help us to outfit that experience. And at the same time, we would open up our retail dispensary on the first level. So we were super excited about that. And then she found out that we were developing a beverage. And when she heard about it, she said, well, wait, what's going on with this beverage? We told her about it, and Whoop Tea was born. Her favorite drink is an Arnold Palmer. So it's half tea, half lemonade, 10 milligrams of THC, now available online. We developed her flavor from concept to store in 60 days. What she appreciated was that we had a strong grasp on expectations, strong leadership skills, and the ability to deliver. So Whoopi said, you guys seem like the real deal. You can deliver. Let's get to business. And most of all, what people like to know is Whoopi the same as what you see, like when you see her, for instance, on The View? I can tell you guys for certain, she's 100% a true, down-to-earth, genuine, and giving person. And we are so fortunate that we have an opportunity to partner with her.
That's phenomenal. I mean, think about it. She could have partnered with anybody. She chose you and your team to partner with. So that speaks volumes of how you guys represent the opportunity at hand and the homework that you guys have done thus far. And I'm certain that other investors, they may be lining up after this interview and say, well, how can I get in? If Whoopi's in and you've already raised millions of dollars thus far, how can I put my money in the pot so I can have some participation once this thing takes off. With the brick and mortar space in Atlantic City, when is that due to open? Is it open already, or do you have a grand opening date?
No, we're looking to open either Q4 of this year or Q1 of next year. So we're looking to open. So we're pretty excited about it.
That's great. I know how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur and to scale to the point where you're going to encompass brick and mortar. You're going to encompass being able to not just have a touch point in New Jersey, but to have an international touch point. So I want to unpack that a little. I want to go back to that because I missed nothing. You said you're going to be on the continent and you're going to have this transatlantic trade, if you will. How did that come to be?
Well, I went to a conference called Black Week last year in October in New York in Tribeca. And Monique Nelson, who's one of the co-founders, had invited me. And this was the second year I went. The first year I went, I was invited, and Terry, how I might say, Terry, hey, I'm having a conference. I want you to come. And you're like, oh, let me go support Faye. And so, of course, I was like, let me go support Monique because we'll see how it goes. I got there, Terry, and I was like, where are my business cards? I am not ready for this conference. It was amazing. Just think, it was a conference for mainly Black advertisers, marketers, and those in the media at the C-suite and entrepreneurial level that were there to host this and put on this amazing event. And as I attended in October, they had a Pan-Africa panel, and they had South Africa, Ghana, and Benin there. And they were all talking about how they wanted to partner with leaders in the U.S. and bring commerce to their countries. And they wanted to have a partnership in doing that. And so afterwards, I asked a question regarding giving thought to industrial hemp. And initially it was met with, maybe not. But then afterwards, they said there could be a compelling argument for that. And come to find out, there are already 11 countries where industrial hemp is legal. And now we are in talks with a couple of countries through someone we're working with to begin that opportunity to grow, process, as well as develop products, and doing that through farmland, doing that through processing equipment that we want to tie to some of our HBCUs here, as well as universities in Africa. And then we want to have those innovation hubs that we tie to various universities as well as corporate America to help fund some of the development. So then we can have those products that, of course, we can export out, or of course, make them available throughout the U.S. So we're pretty excited about it.
As you should be. That's great news to hear all of the things that you're doing to expand what started here in the U.S. and expanding it to the continent. And I know that Black Week was definitely a must-attend event. In fact, we met there and there were so many movers and shakers in the building to just see all of us in one setting and to see all of the different networking, to see all of the different opportunities that were there for everyone to consume. It was breathtaking for me. I mean, similar to you, it exceeded my expectations from the first night of the reception. I said, okay, let me go, and it's going to be at some spot I was so familiar with. And I went inside. I was like, okay, this is entire situation. So that's what got me in my proper mindset. If I didn't go to that reception, then I probably would have actually attended the conference with the same mindset of like, all right, well, let me go. I always want to support people who look like me. Almost as somebody said, I'm doing them a solid by showing up to lend my support.
That's right.
And I'm here to tell you, trust me, they're doing A-okay.
They did me a solid.
They did me a solid as well.
They did me a solid 100%. And to your earlier point, sometimes we worry about when there's too many of us in the room. For that event, there couldn't be enough of us in the room because that was a room for all the right people that are aligned in all the right ways, that are making moves in all the right manner. And I was so excited to see not just the passion for business and purpose, but to help support one another, which is why I'm on your program right now, Terry, because you gave me this opportunity to come and share. And so I couldn't tell you how much energy was in the room around connecting. I was excited because I felt like for the first time, everyone was speaking in the currency that I accepted for once. And I didn't have to speak in the currency somebody else accepted.
You didn't have to water down who you were, and nor did you have to
be different. I didn't have to be
different.
different. I could be me. And not only be me, but everybody understands what me is. Who
Right.
me is, how me is. I didn't have to change that currency. I didn't have to go to Deutschmarks from the US dollar. I could stay right with the US dollar and everybody goes, yeah, I accept dollars too. And we could speak on those levels and everyone felt comfortable, confident, appreciated, respected, included. All those things resonated. You knew you were in the right room.
Right. And in a time in which being people of color, DEI is under attack, the word diversity seems to be something that everybody wants to just white out of different corporations and things of that nature. But no matter what they want to do, there's nothing that they can do to prevent us from continuing to make the progress that they're trying to impede. And I think that conference was proof positive that no matter what the circumstances are, no matter who's occupying the White House, we will not be deterred, we will not be stopped, and we will continue to elevate as long as we stay together and pool our resources. So that in and of itself was a prime example of what we should be looking to do on an ongoing basis, not just 1 week out of the year, throughout the year. And that's why I'm proud to say that our platform, we do just that. You know, we're proud to amplify Black excellence, showing people like you and giving people the opportunity to share their story and give people to see all of the things that are possible through entrepreneurship, through operating at a high level professionally in corporate America, or whether it's in medicine, whether it's in law, whatever the case may be. I want to give people examples of who they can be. I want them to hear from thought leaders such as yourself and learn from your journey, learn from the things that, whether they're missteps, the things that you see to be triumphs, some of the things that you may even see to be failures. Because at the end of the day, we have to collectively move as one. Then I think when it's time for real decisions to be made, then they can look at us and say, okay, this is a group of people that has to be respected. When we talk about other groups of people and everything that's in the news, you know, we know what it's about as far as there's a group of people in the middle, let's say in the Middle Eastern part of the world that seems to have a lot of protection and support from the United States. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that there's a lot of resources that are both there as well as resources that they've exported here to our country, who they always have a seat at the table. We have to find a way to have a seat at the table as well, so that when we want something done, when it's time to, you know, have our voice be heard, and when somebody wants our vote, they have to know that there's enough of us that have enough currency where we can hold them accountable. So whether you're talking Republican or Democrat, if we have no currency to hold them accountable, they can tell us what they think they want us to hear. And at the end of the day, whenever those votes are tabulated, like, okay, we're good, on to the next. We have to kind of stay 10 toes down and say, all right, what do we want? At the end of the day, a lot of times people, they can't answer that question. In a perfect world, what would it take to move us forward? Is it economics, or is it some other form of solidarity? What do we need as a people, and how can we move in that direction? And I think conversations like these, I think conferences like Black Week, it allows room for those conversations, and hopefully we can find some solutions.
I hope we can find solutions, because certainly the fact that DEI has been wiped away, we recognize the importance of DEI, and it makes conferences like Black Week ever more important. And I think now people, instead of them trying to say, oh yeah, I think I'm going to go, people are making a mandate to go, right? Because it's that important now. It's that valuable now. It's that necessary now. And if we're not trying to help ourselves, we're definitely trying to help someone else move forward, because we realize it is on us. For the first time, I think we are starting to begin to understand the value of keeping the dollar in our community, and starting to recollect with the tools of how to make that happen more successfully and sustainably. And I think what we had not had before, that we have more now than ever. We already been outed as Black women as the most educated demographic, right, in the country. But with education, with the leadership skills that we've been able to amass, with the experience now that we have really honing and those corporate muscles, we now have such a foundation to bring ourselves together and really move forward as one. All we have to do is figure out how to do it. We need the leadership, quite frankly. We can't just do it in a fragmented way. But I think there's several events throughout the course of the year that we probably need to make certain that we're paying more attention to, and we need to get more strategic on what our value proposition is to strengthen our community. To your point, 100%. We've got to figure that piece out because we're already spending what I think it's almost $2 trillion a year as an African American community. I think larger than the 15th largest country on the planet. Right. And so if we've got that type of power, we have to figure out ways to harness it.
I agree. That's really our superpower. That's the leverage that we have. We can cripple the economy if we just keep our money in our pockets, in our purses, in our wallets, even in our community. But we're too busy trying to get the latest Louis, the latest Gucci, the latest Chanel, and that money is being exported to a community that doesn't support us whatsoever.
You know what I would tell you though? If we so busy talking about the latest Louis, then we need to put pressure on Louis. If we talk about the latest Chanel, we need to put pressure on Chanel. We need to put pressure on Louis Vuitton. We need to put pressure on all these entities that we have so heavily invested in. BMW, Lexus, Mercedes, all the things. Where's their commitment back to us because we have given so much to them? And I think we recognize that we do have that power in terms of when we turn that on with Target for a period of time. I think Target felt how we decided to aim, right? And that was real. And I think that not so much that we need to aim somewhere else, but we need to share with others like, hey, here are the expectations forward. Are you now going to take us seriously? Right. Because we didn't get that serious commitment and we acted on it. And we can do the same, but let's try to work together and accomplish some things and not believe that some of the divisiveness that's being sown at our highest levels of leadership is what is going to substantiate us going forward, because that is not what is going to hold us together. That's going to fragment us even more. If not by design, it will happen just by process. So you're 100% correct. I always tell people as you look at this business, it's a hard business. It's a hard industry, but also in the Black community within it is very small, but we have been able to come together and help each other along the way. And that's really helped me sustain and my company sustain our ability to continue to move forward.
I think it's all about legacy, and we have to sow into one another so that our children's children won't have to face the same reality that maybe our grandparents face. And we have to continue to sow into one another. We have to continue to keep that legacy alive. Speaking of legacy, you're keeping your mother's legacy alive. So I want to give you the opportunity to share with our viewers and listeners how you're doing that through not just only a published book, but also something that you're going to be bringing to the big screen.
Well, I appreciate that. Yes, as you're sharing, I'm working on a book and a movie that involves August Wilson. Of course, the legendary Pulitzer Prize winning playwright, along with my mother, Patricia Coleman. For those and most of you who will not know, they had a relationship when they were younger, and he used to write her dozens of love letters, and she kept 6 of them. So I started to write the book about their love story and backstory. I was out in LA, invited by Whoopi to attend. She was getting the key to the city in West Hollywood, and went to an event. I ran into Gina Torres of Suits fame. And so she was working on a film project. And as I introduced myself, she said she's working on a film project that was based on the Hill District in Pittsburgh. I told her we were doing the same. And she shared that she was the EP on the project. And I said, that's interesting. She said, do you already have an exec producer? And I said, no. She said, would you like one? And we became fast friends. And Gina is now exec producing our movie. And so we have a movie, we're calling it right now, August with Love. And it is my tribute to my mom, who is my shero. I was encouraged to write the book by the African American Museum in Philadelphia's exec director. Told me, if you don't tell the story in your own words, somebody else will. So that kicked things off in motion. But we're super excited. Everything is in motion. And hopefully within the next year or two, we'll see something come out.
This episode of Prepare for Takeoff is brought to you in part by Riverside, the platform that I trust to record studio quality podcasts right from my laptop. With Riverside, I get crystal clear audio and 4K video. Plus, it's super easy to use. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, Riverside helps your podcast sound amazing. Try it out for yourself. Click the affiliate link in our show notes and start recording like a pro with Riverside. That's great. Shout out to the sister.
She said it'd be great to display his letters and just have a show around it, but I'm going to be a mentor. And I so appreciated that. So forever grateful.
Mentorship is very important. No matter where you are at various stages of your career, not only is mentorship important, so too is sponsorship. We need people that are advocating for us when we're not in the room. And I think those are the things that we have to kind of hold on to as well. No matter where you are, you can climb the top of one mountain. You have to look at that as you're at the bottom of the next mountain. You have to continue to ascend, and you are somebody that's truly ascending. You could have just been content with having a storied career in corporate America, but you weren't content with that. You said, no, I have this calling on me and as it relates to entrepreneurship, and then you drew the kinship as it relates to the cannabis industry, something that dated back to what you've seen your mother go through and then what you went through with your own personal experience. And despite maybe some of the things that you may have thought going into the industry, you still took the trip out to Denver and said, I'm going to go there and I'm going to show up and I'm going to consume this new information and I'm going to see if this is for me. And I'm certain that when you probably told people in corporate America, hey, I'm going into the cannabis business, they probably was like, what? You going what? You don't even smoke.
They laughed at me, Terry. I'll be honest with you. I had some friends of mine literally burst out in laughter. And, they weren't trying to be rude or anything. It's just that it was so far from what they would think I would get involved with.
Right.
Again, my family, the majority of my immediate family, they're consumers. And I'm the only one who's not.
Right.
And so when they found out, they were like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And they were pleasantly surprised in terms of what we were looking to do in the industry, and they wanted to be involved as well. And they're investors also.
I've been there because when I told people I was going into entertainment, I got those same laughs. And you have to find a way to turn that laughter into cheers.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, people can't see for you what they can't see for themselves.
That's right.
And now from the sweat equity that you put into this, now they can see it for themselves because they can see it in you. And they want to go along for the ride. And that's something that we have to just continue to realize and understand that, hey, people don't know what they don't know. And
that's right.
If someone can only see something from their point of view, you can't be mad at them. That's their point of view. We have to continue to elevate to a higher point of view so that we can lift people up and say, hey, no, I see something different from where I'm standing. Because we're standing on the shoulders of giants. We're standing on the shoulders of Madam C.J. Walker. We're standing on the shoulders of pick the individual from our story history as people who have went on to have enormous success despite the era in which they were born in. And again, it goes back to what I was saying. In 2026, we have no excuses. We may not necessarily have privilege like other people in the other communities, whether you want to consider that to be white privilege or whatever the case may be. But what we have is relationships.
Yes.
So those relationships can power us and they can help us continue to ascend to new heights. And so too can these conversations. Because at the end of the day, sometimes it's a matter of just planting that seed, sparking something in your brain. I know that's what happened for me. I always had an interest in entertainment, Faye, but I had no idea what I could do. I didn't sing, I didn't rap, I didn't make beats. But then it took someone to say, hey, my boyfriend's a manager in the music business. I said, you know what? I feel like I have the aptitude to do that based on the jobs I had done prior to that point. But I think conversations like these will continue to spark that curiosity in people, if you will, as it pertains to who they can become. And if these conversations are had, if they don't see examples of individuals such as yourself, then they'll just assume that I can only be the 10 things that I thought I could be leaving West Virginia.
That's
and
right.
Even though those 10 things weren't things that I necessarily was passionate about, those were the 10 things I thought was available to me. And I think conversations such as these shows people that there's far more things you can do. There's far more things you can obtain, whether through education or through entrepreneurship. At the end of the day, there's success. There's no direct path. There's no right or wrong. I feel like success is like picking GPS coordinates. I can take 10 different ways to Manhattan. It's the way that I'm most comfortable taking. And I think the same holds true with success. Faye, this conversation has been a delight. It's always great to talk to you. It's great to watch you just unpack your journey. And I know all of the seeds that you're sowing to our viewers and listeners. I'm certain that they're just in all of your story. And I'm certain that they can't wait, like me, to read the book, see the adaptation on the big screen. As we close out, I want to give you the opportunity to leave our viewers and listeners with 3 things that you feel will help them prepare for takeoff.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much, Terry. I really appreciate this opportunity. 3 things I will leave your listeners with is 1, have a passion for whatever business you get into. Especially if you're going to take the entrepreneurial route, because it's a challenge and it will test you. Educate yourself on the industry and have an executable business plan. Carefully curate a winning team with a strong mix of skills, leadership, and experience for the business you're going to enter into. Learn how to raise money or find a broker to help you raise money. Have your elevator pitch ready. Remember, capitalism is a gladiator sport. The goal is to get the most for the least. Your job is to negotiate the best deal and be ready to pivot. So prepare to bounce back from setbacks because you're going to have them. And network. Join organizations. I'm on the board of the National Hemp Association. I'm on the board of the New Jersey Cannabis Association. You've got Minorities for Medical Marijuana. You have the Cannabis Health Equity Movement. In terms of business, I'm on the board of the African American Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey. Culture, our D9. Of course, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. There are a number of ways that you can surround yourself, connect, educate, and influence in a way that can help you grow and realize the goals that you put for you. Because as a friend of mine shared with me, never invest time in those committed to misunderstanding you. And I'll say it again. Never invest time in those committed to misunderstanding you. Know that you can do it.
Faye, those were bars to say the least. And I'm certain that our viewers and listeners, they're going to want to continue to tap in with you beyond this conversation. How can they find you, whether that's on social media, your website? They may want to get some of that whoop tea. Like, they want to know all the things. How can they find you and pull up?
Hey, listen, first of all, you can order our beverage at genesisinfused.com, and we will deliver anywhere in the United States where it's legal. Our website is puregenesis.us. Learn a little bit more about us, or follow us on Instagram, Genesis Infused, Pure Genesis 410, or Faye Coleman 0702 PG, or LinkedIn at Pure Genesis. That's where you can find us.
So safe to say you guys ain't hard to find.
Not, Terry. We'll give you all that. I would hope we're not hard to find. And we just appreciate when everybody visits to learn a little bit more about us. I always think that Angela Bassett in my head is my friend, but I love her words because she always says, when they tell you you're not enough, not only are you enough, you're more than enough. And I think a lot of times we don't understand that. And we are constantly in our faces with those seeds of doubt that we should never sow, because we're not just makers of history, we're made from history. We need to understand it as we move forward. We have the foundation. We just need to go get it.
You're definitely in the right business, Faye, because my understanding of cannabis, it starts with a seed, right? And you are sowing seeds. And so you are definitely in the right industry. You're sowing seeds into our viewers and listeners. You're sowing seeds into me just through this conversation. You're sowing seeds into your peers. I'm sure you've been sowing seeds into Whoopi, because I'm certain every day that you guys interface, she's learning something new about this industry. So I think that what we need to continue to do is to sow seeds into one another. So you're in the seed sowing business. So you're in the right industry, to say the least.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I humbly accept that. But I definitely want to say it's more than me, Terry. I want to thank my amazing team, starting with my business partner, Priscilla, and my amazing C-suite team, my advisory team. It takes a village. My children, Jade and Jordan, they've invested support in so many ways in my business. Our investors for believing in us, and Whoopi for trusting in us. And so it does take that village. And I am forever humbled and very grateful. And it's not just about PG succeeding or me succeeding. It's about all of us getting to the finish line and beyond. And if we can help anyone, we're open. But I always ask folks, answer those 5 whys first and start with you. And if you can answer that question successfully, journey on.
I couldn't agree with you more. Well, Faye, thanks for spending so much time with us. And we're going to continue to stay plugged in with you and plugged in with your team. Like you said, If we want to get somewhere far, you have to go with others. So you have a more than capable team to get you to not just the points and all points in between from the Atlantic to the Pacific here in this country, but to the motherland on the continent. I mean, you're already doing that transatlantic journey back and forth. So salute to you. Hopefully I can make my way to the motherland. I've yet to make it, but I want to put my toes in that soil on the continent. So maybe I have to go out there with you guys, and maybe there's some opportunities for me to seek out there and see what I can do to kind of plant my flag.
We may go in the fall, Terry. If we do, I'll let you know, because again, you're doing amazing work and you're providing a platform for leaders to share their journey. And if you can travel with us across the pond, that would be incredible.
I'm one of these people. Don't invite me. I'll show up. I'll show up like, I'm ready to go.
Hey, that's a good thing. Well, because too many people say they're going to show up and don't. So it's always great. We have somebody that said they're going to show up and they actually do.
Faye, must continue success. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I wanted to thank you. And not only do I want to thank you and your team, I also want to thank our viewers and listeners. Whether you're watching us on Spotify or you're watching us on YouTube or you're listening to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Audible, iHeart, or Pandora. As you know, every week we're going to continue to bring you proven professionals or rising entrepreneurs. And all of these conversations, just like this one, will help you prepare for takeoff. Faye, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.